Nova Steele was living a dream life, millions of followers, luxury endorsements, and a reputation as Florida's fiercest fitness icon, till one deadly night turned her from influencer to accused killer. Nova Steele wasn't just a fitness influencer, she was a brand. Born and raised in Tampa, Florida, she started as a competitive gymnast. Before transitioning into weightlifting during her late teens, her natural strength and discipline quickly turned heads in the local gym scene. By 20, she was competing in state-level fitness expos. But it wasn't the trophies that pushed her forward. It was the camera. She knew how to work a lens. With every competition, she uploaded perfectly timed progress videos, motivational captions, and behind-the-scenes footage that captivated an audience hungry for authenticity. What began as casual updates for a small group of followers evolved into a massive platform with millions of subscribers across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Her rise was meteoric. She launched her own line of protein supplements, exclusive fitness programs, and branded merchandise. From high-intensity boot camps to power glam fashion collaborations, Nova's world was perfectly curated. Her lifestyle videos featured flashy cars, waterfront condos, and private jet getaways. She became the face of fitness in South Florida, with fans ranging from aspiring bodybuilders to lifestyle bloggers. Yet behind the sculpted abs and sparkling smile, Nova had another passion: motorcycles. It started innocently. She posted short clips riding through the Everglades, helmet strapped tight, riding slow and steady. But the audience wanted more. Her most watched videos weren't workouts, they were her racing through empty stretches of night roads. Her long hair whipping in the wind, one hand on the throttle. The danger, the rebellion, the ruchit became part of her brand. She started incorporating motorcycles into everything. Her fashion shoots, her gym entries, even her influencer meetups. Fans loved it. Brands loved it even more. By the time she hit 2 million followers, Nova had invested in a custom-built, jet-black Ducati. It wasn't street legal in the strictest sense, but it looked incredible on camera. She often rode without a plate or helmet, just for a few shots or short clips, then disappeared before the police ever noticed. She had a way of pushing the limits, always stopping just short of trouble. At least, that's what everyone believed. But with fame came pressure. Nova's persona was built on perfection. Her sponsors expected non-stop content. Her audience demanded bigger stunts, newer challenges. The more she gave, the more they craved. Her DMs were full of collab offers, her inbox overflowing with fan mail and a growing list of critics who accused her of being reckless, superficial, and dangerous. Still, she brushed them off. She was on top of the world, and nothing could slow her down. What no one knew was how much Nova had begun to depend on her carefully maintained image. Behind the scenes, she was becoming obsessive, scripting every part of her day, rehearsing her smile, pre-planning spontaneous moments. Everything had to be bigger, brighter, louder. When whispers of burnout began surfacing in fitness forums, she doubled down. She refused to let anyone see a crack in her empire. And then came the night that would shatter everything. The evening of April 16th began like many others in Nova Steele's glamorous routine. She was scheduled to appear at an exclusive rooftop launch party for a luxury fitness app, where she would serve as the brand's celebrity ambassador. The event was set in downtown Miami, overlooking the water, with media, influencers, and executives all in attendance. Nova arrived fashionably late, her presence announced by the roar of her motorcycle echoing through the surrounding streets. She parked just outside the venue's private garage, removed her helmet, and adjusted her all-black leather outfit that shimmered under the streetlights. Her entrance was documented by fans and fellow influencers, many of whom instantly uploaded clips and selfies featuring her signature smirk. Inside, Nova moved like a performer on stage, engaging with photographers, exchanging greetings with sponsors, and giving short sound bites for social content. Yet beneath her polished surface, something was off. Observers noted she appeared more restless than usual, constantly checking her phone, sipping water instead of champagne, her eyes darting toward the rooftop entrance every few minutes. There was tension in her jaw, a stiffness in her smile that didn't quite match the usual confident charisma she exuded. Just over an hour into the event, Nova slipped out without explanation. No goodbyes, no posed exit, just a fast-paced walk to the elevator, helmet clutched in hand. The next time she was seen, it was by a pair of tourists walking down Biscayne Boulevard shortly before midnight. They recalled a black motorcycle flying past them, no lights on, weaving between parked cars. Seconds later, they heard a sharp, metallic sound, like a crash. But when they turned, the street appeared empty. At 11:42 p.m., Officer Ray Delgado was wrapping up a traffic citation on the edge of the road, steps away from his cruiser's flashing lights. He had parked behind a stalled vehicle and was assisting the driver, his back partially turned to oncoming traffic. Moments after he handed over the paperwork, a black blur surged through the lane. Witnesses nearby heard screeching rubber, a heavy impact, then silence. Delgado's body lay sprawled across the median. The motorcycle that struck him was gone. Emergency services arrived within minutes, but it was already too late. Delgado, a decorated Miami police officer with over a decade of service, was pronounced dead at the scene. His cruiser's dash cam had partially captured the approach of the vehicle, just a flash of dark metal, moving at dangerous speed. The footage wasn't enough to identify a license plate or rider. Traffic cameras in the area caught glimpses of a similar bike racing through intersections but failed to track where it had come from or where it was headed. News of the incident spread rapidly, especially in local law enforcement circles. Officer Delgado was well-liked, known for his fairness and dedication. His death sparked outrage and grief, with public demands for justice echoing across social media. What no one realized yet was that the case was about to collide with one of Florida's most famous faces, in a way no one saw coming. In the days following Officer Delgado's tragic death, the city of Miami was on edge. News outlets ran hourly updates. Police launched a full-scale investigation, and tributes to the fallen officer poured in from across the country. But despite the growing pressure, leads were scarce. The black motorcycle that had vanished into the night left behind no license plate, no eyewitnesses who could clearly identify the rider, and no solid direction to pursue. It was a ghost vehicle, gone in seconds, leaving only tragedy behind. Yet while the investigation was struggling, the internet was buzzing. Amateur sleuths on Reddit and TikTok were dissecting every angle of the case, reviewing traffic cam screenshots, comparing crash scene debris to bike models, and analyzing the limited dashcam footage from Delgado's cruiser. Within just a few days, some users began circulating a theory that seemed outlandish at first. Nova Steele's bike looked eerily similar to the one involved in the hit and run. Her signature Ducati, known from dozens of posts and videos, had the same unique side fairing, the same low-slung exhaust, and the same matte black detailing. The theory spread fast. It wasn't long before Nova's social media began receiving cryptic comments. Some users asked if she was okay. Others were more direct, accusing her of involvement. Her response? Silence. She didn't post for 3 days, which was highly unusual for someone who typically uploaded content daily. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, she returned with a carousel of Jim's selfies and a caption about resilience and staying focused during life's unexpected turbulence. She made no mention of the growing speculation, but investigators had already begun noticing the online chatter. An anonymous tip submitted to Crime Stoppers claimed that Nova's motorcycle had been seen at a private storage facility outside Fort Lauderdale, the same area where she occasionally filmed vlog content. Detectives pulled rental records and confirmed that a climate-controlled unit was leased under a business owned by Nova SLLC. A warrant was issued. When authorities arrived at the facility, the garage door was open and the space was mostly empty. But what they did find told a story. Or skid marks, oil drips, a broken mirror shard, and a torn glove sat near the back of the unit. Nearby security footage showed someone entering the unit late the night after the crash, wheeling out a covered motorcycle and driving off in a white SUV with tinted windows. Though the figure was mostly obscured, their build, height, and stride were a close match to Nova. Meanwhile, a more damning piece of evidence emerged. Surveillance from a gas station roughly 4 miles from the crash site captured Nova earlier that same night. Refueling her Ducati, she wore the same black riding outfit seen in her recent Instagram post. Time-stamped less than 2 hours before Officer Delgado was struck, forensic analysts began reconstructing her movements using location data pulled from her smartwatch activity, which she frequently used to track workouts and rides. The results placed her within a quarter mile of the crash scene minutes before the fatal collision. At this point, the case was shifting rapidly from speculation to suspicion. As investigators dug deeper into Nova Steele's life, the pieces of the puzzle began forming a clearer picture, one that painted the influencer's world in a much darker shade than her public persona suggested. Beneath the curated perfection of her social media empire was a mounting pressure that had been growing for months. Emails recovered from her business account revealed escalating tension with one of her largest corporate sponsors, a global sportswear company poised to release a new fitness app with Nova as the face of its campaign. The app's success depended on her continued visibility and flawless reputation. Missing a single key promotional event could trigger a breach of contract clause worth over $3 million in losses. The rooftop event on April 16th had not just been a party, it was a critical checkpoint in Nova's career. Internal notes between the brand's executives showed concerns over her recent erratic behavior, with one exchange referencing her reckless street content and the possible risk it posed to the company's image. Nova, aware of these concerns, was reportedly determined to prove she could still command attention and influence by any means necessary. Investigators traced her financial records and discovered she had recently purchased an unregistered second motorcycle through a shell account, complete with cash payments and a private mechanic hired to customize it. The bike matched the exact specifications of her usual Ducati, allowing her to film high-speed stunts or avoid citations without drawing unwanted attention to her primary ride. It was a calculated decision, one that now appeared as an attempt to escape liability. Forensic experts were able to locate the second bike hidden in a friend's rural garage just outside of West Palm Beach. The paint had been partially redone, and the rear lights removed. But despite the effort to alter its appearance, forensic residue told a different story. Scratches on the lower fender matched patterns from Officer Delgado's reflective vest, and microscopic fabric fibers were embedded in the wheel housing. Tests confirmed the material came from a law enforcement uniform. At this point, the evidence was overwhelming. Nova was arrested at her Miami condo on the morning of April 24th while streaming a live Q&A session to over 30,000 fans. The live stream cut abruptly as police entered the frame, triggering an immediate social media explosion. Fans and followers were stunned. Supporters insisted she was being framed. Critics claimed it was the inevitable downfall of someone who had pushed too far for too long. Interviews with former assistants and collaborators revealed a pattern of obsessive control behind the scenes. Nova micromanaged every detail of her public image, scheduling posts to match engagement algorithms and rehearsing unscripted moments to make them seem authentic. She reportedly feared irrelevance more than failure. In private conversations recovered from her encrypted messaging app, she vented about being trapped in a character, unable to show weakness without risking everything she had built. Her arrest sent shockwaves through the influencer world, marking a turning point in how fame and responsibility intersect. Nova Steele, once admired for her strength and independence, now faced a criminal trial that threatened to unravel everything. Nova Steele's trial began on a hot August morning in a Miami courtroom packed with reporters, influencers, and grieving officers. The case had become a media circus. Every detail of her downfall was dissected online, her old videos re-examined, her partnerships severed, and her followers divided into believers and skeptics. Some clung to the idea that Nova was being targeted because of her fame. Others believed she'd always been dangerously self-centered, and Officer Delgado's death was the tragic result of her arrogance. The prosecution's case was methodical. They laid out the evidence piece by piece: GPS data from Nova's smartwatch, surveillance footage from the gas station, and forensic results tying the unregistered motorcycle to the crash. But the most damning moment came when analysts presented a timeline overlay of her social media activity with law enforcement. This reconstruction of the accident, the timestamps aligned too closely to be coincidence. She had posted a workout photo just 20 minutes after the crash, perfectly filtered and captioned as if nothing had happened. To the jury, it suggested more than just negligence. It hinted at a conscious effort to maintain appearances in the immediate aftermath of a fatal crime. Nova's defense team attempted to discredit the evidence. They argued the surveillance footage was too blurry to positively identify her. They suggested the motorcycle had been stolen and planted to frame her, pointing out that she had been targeted with online harassment in the past. They even claimed she had been at home resting a shoulder injury that night. But the prosecution countered each point with digital receipts, including real-time data syncing from Nova's own fitness app that placed her moving at high speeds during the window of Officer Delgado's death. Character witnesses were brought in, some to support her, others to paint a very different picture. A former assistant testified that Nova often spoke about how she couldn't afford to go dark online for even a day without losing money or relevance. A former brand manager revealed she had dismissed team advice to tone down her motorcycle content, saying risk was part of her aesthetic. The image of Nova as a carefully engineered brand, willing to take dangerous chances for digital engagement, began to take root. After 6 days of testimony and nearly a day of jury deliberation, the verdict came back. Guilty on all counts, including vehicular homicide and fleeing the scene of a fatal accident. The courtroom was silent as the judge addressed her directly, describing her actions as a selfish pursuit of fame that ended in irreversible tragedy. Nova Steele was sentenced to 25 years in state prison, with no possibility of parole for the first 15 years. As she was led away in handcuffs, Nova kept her head high, her expression unreadable. Outside the courthouse, a crowd gathered, some holding signs in support, others calling for justice. The trial was over, but the story lived on. Her fall from grace became a cautionary tale, not just about one woman's mistakes, but about the darker side of influence and the real-world cost of curated perfection.